But for all of that, we know that when it comes to the voice, the government and the left are desperately trying to shut down any kind of debate. The Prime Minister's strategy deliberately involves minimal details as he tries to pursue constitutional changes through the lens of morality. I mentioned this at the top of the show. A vicious war of words has broken out in the legal profession after a prominent Sydney barrister, Bret Walker SC, branded arguments against the proposed model of the voice as racist. It's a similar play from so many of the voice proponents. Label those against or merely just questioning the voice as racist. However, my next guest is not one for taking this sort of alleged slur lying down. Sydney Barrister Louise Clegg has issued a stinging rebuke to Walker, writing to the New South Wales Bar Association saying that his comments are grotesque and asking the professional body to, quote, issue a public rebuke to Bret personally for bringing the profession into disrepute and for the unacceptable moral bullying towards lawyers who may wish to openly engage in this monumentally important public debate. I'm thrilled to say Louise Clegg joins me now. Well, you're right, it is a monumental debate, Louise. We've seen in the political sphere this shaming of people and using the racism claim. But if there's something as substantial as this before the Australian public to change our constitution, surely we want our best legal minds debating it, not being shut down.
It's a shocking state of affairs, Peta. And that's why I decided to make the letter that I sent to the Bar Association on Saturday afternoon public, because I thought to myself, well, I don't think that this will go anywhere with the Bar Association. And so it would go into the ether, and most people then wouldn't, other than insiders who were watching this and engaged in this, wouldn't be aware of what he had done. Look, it was reported in the Australian Financial Review that he had said that barristers or lawyers were being racist. He's come back from that, and I think perhaps there was a bit of misreporting, to be fair to him, because I'm staying fair and classy, Peter. So to be fair, he has just said that the ideas are racist. So I think, look, that's a distinction without much meaning. I think if he put that submission before the High Court, they might say that too. So he's troubled by some of the ideas that I am, well, the arguments I am running. And I'm concerned that the voice is too big, and I feel it's, as a constitutional lawyer, a public lawyer, I think it's quite radical, and it's certainly experimental. So
I'll pick that, Louise. So I'm just going to jump in. I'll pick that up in a moment because I want to drill into that. But if he wasn't labelling any individual as racist, if he was saying that the concepts you were raising were racist, then what do you think he was really trying to say here in substance? Well,
what he was trying to do was to shut these ideas down. And I think on a Magama amendment camp, and remember, I'm in the middle of this. I'm talking to people on both sides and engaging with everyone. So I am not currently on the no case. I'm saying there's an easier way and a gentler way of doing it. But they don't like what I'm saying to argue that. And I've been making arguments based on material by Gamma model academics, the people who are involved in drafting this clause. So I've been saying, for instance, I'm just reading here from a Gamma academic, if I can call her that, Professor Appleby. She said that this was going to be a foundational institution of state. That's a quote. It will provide an important reordering of the hierarchy of state, and provides for a form of the transformation in Australia's established constitutional institutions. So that set me thinking, well, what kind of body is this? And so I've made quite a carefully constructed argument, including, Peter, at a Yes Camp conference where the room was full of Indigenous, or half full of Indigenous people, and Professor Greg Craven, who is a constitutional law scholar, was there, and I made this argument in front of them. So I felt very comfortable making this argument that it is a fourth arm of government. And I don't over-egg it. I say it's an advisory arm of government. So I'm not I'm not I'm not engaging in a scare campaign. I just think that's how we should characterise it when we think about it. That's how I'm thinking about it as a public lawyer. And so he doesn't, I think that this argument that I'm making makes him very uncomfortable. So he's trying to shut that down. But I've taken care in pulling this argument together.
I know you have, Louise, and you've, I think been very thoughtful and said we've never done a referendum like this. We've always had a much more extended process. We've always had contestability of the ideas in the public domain. What I don't understand is we look to lawyers on something as important as constitutional change to give us a sense of the scope of what's on the table. And lawyers front court all the time and are happy to have opposing views tested before a judge, but not in this debate. It's one way or the highway.
That's exactly right, and that's one of my big complaints. And Frank Brennan and I are the only lawyers in Australia at the moment who are scrutinising the amendment, and we're both doing that respectfully and very carefully. So it's quite an astonishing thing for a senior member of the bar to come out and label an idea of mine as racist. I mean, it's a depressing scenario. And so I'm personally offended, of course. It's a very difficult thing to have said about you. But I'm more concerned about the profession, because this is what lawyers do. And sure, Mr. Walker might disagree with me, Peter, but we should be able to have this debate. And the problem here is that in this process, no one's been given a platform to have this debate. Or the government hasn't given anyone a platform to have this debate. And that's what lawyers do, particularly for constitutional reform.
I have to leave it there, but you're absolutely right, Louise Clegg. I've got to leave it there. I've run out of time, but you are absolutely welcome back on this program any single time to inject a little bit of balance and sanity to it. Thank you for your time.